Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Lady Justice Talks, where curiosity meets law. Today, you're here with Anita, your host, and we have a special guest, Fatima, who's a part of WILA, and we're going to be talking about jury duty. So, welcome? Are you excited to be here?
Yeah, it's my first time, so I'm excited. Yes.
Would you like to please introduce yourself?
So, hi everybody. My name is Fatima. I'm a fourth-year law and society major. I'm also the outreach and recruitment executive at WILA. And yeah.
That's exciting. How long have you been with WILA?
I've been with WILA. I started 2024 September, and so until since then, yeah. And it's a really interesting position because I know that WILA does a lot of events and a lot of panelists, and we bring in lawyers and people from the legal field. And my department are the first people to reach out to these people. So it's always nice to email them, to meet them, and get to meet them in person after you have an online conversation. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, WILA is a great opportunity. Definitely apply for our new positions. And today, as I said, we're talking about jury duty. Would you like to please give us a little intro of what jury duty is and how you got selected for it?
Yeah. So what jury duty basically is, it's a civil obligation on every Canadian citizen to join a legal proceeding, and then come up with a verdict. If you get selected, you come up with the verdict of what the case is. So how it basically goes is you get summoned. So through mail, you get a mail, and it says that on this and this day you have to reach court. And then what happens is the first day it's just it's this room filled with hundreds of people, and it's from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Yeah, I've heard that they say oh, bring a book with yourself.
Yeah, it's jury duty is really taboo because a lot of people don't like it because it interferes with your day-to-day life. But as somebody who wants to be in the legal field, I thought it was a great opportunity to meet theory to practice. And so what jury duty is when you go that first day, you just wait for hours until your honor, he calls you in to this courtroom where you meet where he discusses what the case is and what the charges are, and then you have the victim there, the lawyers there, the charged person there, and then he tells you this and this happens, and then randomly they have this ballot where they select names. And for instance, we had 3 sections, A, B, and C, and every section had 25 to 30 people, and this is the order. So I was number 14, so I would be the 14th person meeting the judge that day. So section A 1 to 25, I was so happy that I was number 14 and I was not the last person, because that was a tiring day. The whole procedure is so exhausting and boring, because once you reach the courtroom, you're not allowed to use your phone. Because there's a policy ban, right? So a media ban.
Do you think it's just at specific, or the bigger ones the Supreme Court, or?
I think it's specific because I know the case I was part of, it had a media ban. You're not allowed to use phones and stuff or record or any part of that. So even the whole proceeding itself is not you can't find it online because of the media ban. Yeah. And that usually happens when the case is too sensitive usually, and they make sure.
So your case was pretty sensitive.
It was traumatic even for the jurors. We were as somebody just sitting, even if you were in the gallery, sitting in the gallery, you would be to some extent it would be emotional to you as well. So after that ballot system happens, you one by one meet the judge throughout that day. And if your day, let's say we couldn't get to you, then you would have to come the next day. So I was the 14th person, and luckily I got the chance to meet the judge that day. And what surprised me was they make you sign a form, and you have to write if you can't do it or if you could do it. And I had no reason to say no.
Yeah, I've heard there are specific reasons that can
you're exempted from the whole procedure, and one of the reasons was if you are somebody of law. So if you have a legal background, so that's the question I raised to your honor. I was I have a legal background in terms my undergrad is I'm in law and society. Does that count or not? And then he had to step me out of the room, and then they all like discussed, like the counsels, the lawyers, they all had a discussion. And then a few seconds later he called me back in. He's like, okay, you know what, like, are you studying any criminal cases? Like, do you know anything about criminal law? I'm like, not a course itself, but like I know what it is. And he's like, okay, that's fine, you're like the number 4th person to be selected and stuff. So then after that, you have to. So one of the main reasons I said yes to jury duty was because like on the form it said it's like 7 to 10 days, and it was in like a week before reading week and in reading week. So I'm like, that's fine. Like I can do that.
I feel like either that's good, but I also feel like it's different for each case and each court. Because you were at which court?
The Superior Court in Toronto.
So you were like a big case, sensitive case. But I've also heard of people. Well, I don't know the details, but I've also heard of people who have been selected for like smaller courts, like just regular,
domestic, like more local.
Local courts. So I don't know but I never asked them like how exactly how long their procedure was, or was it as strict as yours. But not to like scare anybody, because it's like it is a legal obligation for whoever gets summoned. But I know that there is definitely several reasons that you could be exempt from it too. Yeah. But you wanted to do it.
So I wanted to do it just for like the experience, like the legal experience, because like I've been to the courts before with WILA, like that was my first time going. But I really want to experience what I'm learning in class and actually put it into practice. Because
was it different, like what you learn in law and society and versus like what you saw?
Like a lot of the terms were familiar because like I knew what each person in the court was doing, like all of that stuff, yes. But as a juror myself, like just looking at me as a normal juror, it's very different, because I think each experience is different because each case is different. So when it comes to that, like even somebody who might have like a legal field would have different experiences.
Were your like expectations from what you thought it's going to look like and happen different from when you were actually like there? Because you're also like, from what it sounds like, your experience might even be different from other people who have been called to jury duty. But like, what, like, was it different for you from what you expected, given all the strict like no media policy? So
I went in not knowing anything. All I knew was jury duty. A lot of people don't like it. It's boring, this and that. So I'm like, you know what? It's fine. Like I'll do it. It's not an issue, and I had time. But what caught me off guard was like the courthouse itself was very disorganized. So what I said, like it was 7 to 10 days. On the form it said maybe a few days more. But because of like minor technical issues, we went from week 1 into week 3. So after reading week, and I was not prepared for that, and like I had to ask His Honor for like an accommodation letter to send to my professors that, you know, I'm not going to be in class, I have like assignments, and it was midterm season, so I was cooked. So that was not expected, because it would be the minorest like technical issue, like the heating is bad. Okay, guys, come tomorrow, we're changing courtrooms. The speakers are not working, the TV's not working, and like
you got unlucky with
like so like as a juror or somebody who's like first time coming into court like that, you're not you have this illusion that like the courthouses are perfect and everything is on dot, and like your honor's time shouldn't be wasted, the court's honorable time shouldn't be wasted, but a lot of time was wasted. So I remember it was like the long weekend as well, so like you don't go on like statutory holidays. So that day was already left, and then in between 2 days they told us not to come, and then it just kept getting extended. And the thing about me was I was a student, but there was other jurors who were like parents, had kids responsibilities, they were working, some people were retired, and they have like, you have to leave all of this behind and be committed.
Like if they summon you, you have to.
Yeah, and apparently it's like there's 12 jurors on each bench, or like in the juror field, but if the case is longer, then they have 2-3 extra jurors that if you can't make it, they fill in. But they weren't prepared for how long this case would have gone, so they didn't prepare the extra 2-3 people. So every single juror had to come every single day, regardless of whatever your situation is. So that was a little unexpected. Something else I thought was a little unexpected was the staying overnight part. So after you get to know the case, there's deliberation, which is basically when after like you see all the witnesses, there's cross-examination, there's a re-examination, and then your honor, he kind of tells all the jurors, this thick binder he gives every single juror with 100+ pages, and he reads that to every single person like out loud. And then you go into the jury room and they take your phones and they take your
I don't know they do
source
that. But then again, your case was in no media.
ban. But I think no, that's just for deliberation in general.
Like they take.
Yeah, they take. You're not allowed to have any source of like outside information. So like, you can't search up your case or any charges about your case. You can't have any other outside influence of the case.
As a jury, you guys are going to be making the decision.
Yeah, and there could be no biases. That was the main point, that you're not allowed to have any biases in your like verdict. And what caught me off guard was this is said on their website, like the Ontario government website, that you might have to stay overnight. I didn't read that part, so that came to me as a surprise.
I had never heard.
Yeah, so they were like, you have to come tomorrow for deliberation. It's day one, and come with your suitcase, pack for a few days, bring your toiletry, your medication, whatever necessities you need. And the thing is, they don't tell you where you're staying, and it's just, if you can't come to a decision the first day at like 8 p.m., be like, okay guys, pack up, we're going somewhere. They don't tell you where either.
Because, like,
you can't tell. And I'm like, at least tell me. So I'm like I have, like, anxiety. So I was like, you need to tell me where I'm going. You can't just send me somewhere and have no idea. And the thing is, usually what they do is they try to find a location in the, like, near the courthouse. So in the morning, it's like, easier to, like, get there.
Yeah.
But it was Blue Jay season, and every single hotel was booked. And last minute, they took us to, like, some area in Dixie, like, across, like, the next city. And that was very, like, the anxiety was crazy. Like, other than that, I think it was a good experience. But the next day, I was like, I'm not going to anywhere. I'm going home. That's where I'm going.
How long did this overnight thing take for you guys?
So I think we left the courthouse around 9 p.m. and we reached the place around 10 p.m.
Like, how long did you guys have to repeat the process of, like, staying overnight?
Oh, we did it once. But there's been, like, I think one of the constables, she was like, yeah, the most we had, like, was 20 days. Because they couldn't come up with a decision. No way of communicating.
What about, like,
like, she took my AirPods and my keys. No technology.
What about, like access, like, to food?
Okay, that they pampered us when it came to, like, taking care of us. So, like, even before deliberation, when they're just when we're just in, like, the courtroom and we're knowing the case, they would bring us, like, snacks, they would bring us lunch if we have to come late. And then during deliberation, we had, like, this whole drinks bar. And after the overnight stay, they took us to a nice breakfast, like a whole buffet system, and, like, that part was nice.
And what about the rooms that you were staying in? Were they staying, like...
Yeah, there was, like, every person gets their own room. My room, like the area we stayed at, because I was the only one they could find, it was, like, I had 2 beds. And, like, it was, like, a nice room, a fridge, microwave, and they gave you, like, nice meals. So all of that was taken care of. And, like, I, like, had, like, dietary restrictions, and they also took care of that.
Okay,
so yeah, that was nice.
Good.
Yeah.
But, like, it must have been scary to, like, not have your phone and, like...
Like, no source, because you don't know where you are. You're more confined than, like, people charged.
Yeah. That's kind of scary.
It is scary, for sure.
But again, it also does depend on the case. You just got chosen.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
You got summoned for.
Because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Because even, like, the first day when he was discussing the case, like, I was, like, paying attention, but I didn't understand the gravity of what I'm getting into until you're finally in it, and then you're seeing all the exhibits, you're seeing all the witnesses, and it's crazy.
So, like, when you're saying that you were able to see everything, what do you think stood out to you from what you learned in real life versus what you had, like, studied in your textbooks about how the legal system works?
So I think for me, because it wasn't my first time in the court room, because the year before with WILA, we went to, like, a event at one of the courthouse right beside it, so that's, like, the lower court. So I kind of understood about, like, I knew that, like, phones weren't allowed. I knew, like, how to dress. I knew, like, what was expected as, like, a person in the gallery would come to a courthouse. So that didn't come to me as a surprise. Another thing that stood out to me was taking notes. Like, each juror was given a binder, and throughout the whole 3-week process, I was able to write notes from every single day.
You had a big case too.
Yeah, so because you deliberate after, like, so many days, you need to remember what took place on day 1. So that's why, like, taking notes was essential. Because if you forget, then you're gonna have trouble coming up with, like, a final verdict. And another thing that was, like, shocking to me was a lot of the times when we watch movies or read case law, it's very dramatic. like in movies it'd be like, oh, object, your honor, or they would get up, or like they would say like all these big things and make like legal like situations and cases so dramatic. But this wasn't that dramatic. Like the most they would do, like one of the lawyers would just stand up, and then the judge would be like, okay, what do you have? And they'd be like, oh, judge, like I don't think that my friend is doing this and that. They weren't like, I object. Yeah, like the most dramatic I think was one of the witnesses. He was just so funny. That's it. He was, because like I'm not allowed to like disclose what was going on, but he was an incredible witness, and he was just trying to argue with like the lawyer, and the judge was like, bro. The judge was like, just answer her question. So that was
like,
really
no, let
funny.
me ask you a question.
He's like, I know what you're trying to make me say. She's like, no. So that was funny. So, and the thing is that as jurors, you're not allowed to make face expressions. So if you like find something funny or like something shocking, you have to have like a poker face. Like you can't give it away.
Funny and
yeah, no, but sometimes like the counsels would just say the most bizarre things, and you're just like,
what did you just say?
What did you just say? Like it's so funny. Or like there's this thing about like what I've studied so far is what lawyers try to do is they have to be convincing towards jurors. So like if it's a jury case, then the lawyers are basically trying to convince the jurors that if you're from the defense counsel, you want to say no, the person charged is not guilty, he's innocent. So with the defense counsel, he would constantly look at us and like smile or like nod his head when he wants to point a point across, and we're just like, we get to decide if it's good or not. So that was interesting. Another thing that was interesting was the jury constable. They were so sweet. They were so helpful. And they're basically the people who take care of all the jurors. So, like, from signing us in to, like, taking us out, to getting us taxis late night if we're leaving late, taking her food if we need anything. It's
good. At least the accommodations were
good. The accommodations were good, yeah.
That's good.
That was good, yeah.
And so, as a jury, anybody can be selected. So were you in a group of people with like all different ages, different backgrounds, different like responsibilities within their life, like all types of people? So
I was the youngest from all the jurors, and I was the only student, and everybody, all the jurors, they were not much older. Some were like near my age, some were older, some were retired, some were like parents. So everybody came from different backgrounds. While that is something like having a diverse background is essential to come up with the case, to come up with the verdict, to make sure that the case isn't biased. It's also very hard to come up with one decision.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
And you were chosen as, you were telling me that you were chosen as the foreperson?
Yeah.
So would you mind telling us, like, what exactly that is? Because, like, for example, I hadn't heard that term before you told me. And
so a foreperson is basically the judge, what he does is he tells all the jurors that from all of you, one of you has to become the leader for all the jurors during deliberation. So what that is
and you were chosen.
Yeah. So what we did was us jurors, we asked, like, who wants to do what, if somebody wants to be juror or not, if somebody wants to be a foreperson or not. And like some of them knew that I had a law and society background, or had a somewhat legal background, so they were like, oh, you should like go for it. So we did a ballot system.
And then you were like the youngest
one. I was the youngest one, so I was like, oh. So I went in really hopeful. I went in like, okay, this is an experience, I want to try doing it. It'll give me more insight of the whole like legal field. And so what we did was we did voting, and I got the most votes, so I became the foreperson. So that was fun. But like when I thought about it, until the deliberation day came, and then it was.
Tell you guys first what deliberation.
Okay, yeah. So what deliberation is the process where you kind of start deciding the verdicts. So let's say your case has, a simple case might have like 2 charges, and you as a team have to decide in deliberation if this decision is guilty or not guilty. Okay, so the deliberation is when you kind of come to a consensus, a unanimous decision of each and every charge. And I was the leader for that for the deliberation, so it was my duty to kind of go through each charge and come up with, like, we were 12 jurors, so all 12 jurors had to agree on each and every charge.
And like, as a foreperson, how did you manage, like, how was it? What was the experience of like getting all 12 people to agree on the same thing with all different backgrounds? And since you were the foreperson, you would have had to like, you know, basically act like the leader of the group. Like, how did you manage that?
So So it was 2 days. The first day I went in, like I said, very hopeful. So what I tried to do was like go through all the exhibits or like run through all the witnesses, all the evidence, so everybody was on the same page.
That's good.
So we did that, and then I soon realized that none of that was helpful, because the whole idea is to have a 12-on-12 decision. So even if 11 people are agreeing and one person is not agreeing, you can't move on. So the first day was just trying to be on the same page, which was very, very hard. And the unanimous decision is the hardest part, because no matter like how many days go by and one person, let's say like I was stubborn and I was like, no, I don't agree. All the 11 other jurors have to convince me, or I have to convince them. And that part is like the hardest, and that's what took, I think, the longest. And another thing about jury duty is the judge makes clear that your decisions have to be beyond a reasonable doubt. And what that is that if you're making any decision, you're not supposed to have any doubts that this is taking place.
Like
100%, or at least 99%. And that's where I think that word itself is so unique and so unclear, because what is reasonable doubt?
Yeah.
Like, you can have doubts over anything, and you have to convince the rest of the jurors.
Yeah, not everything is like black and white.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's also the idea where there's fuel, there's fire. So, like, coming to that decision was very hard.
Was everybody in agreement, or was there like that 1 or 2%? Was it like just 1 or 2 people that were
was like
I don't agree?
Yeah. And then but also it was like that was good in some aspects, because some of us were playing like the devil's advocate, because sometimes you need to put yourself in the shoes of the person's charge, so you're not making a wrong decision.
Think outside
think outside the box and think from both perspectives and make sure that we're not being biased. But that is usually the hardest part, just coming to a consensus.
So how did you end up like
I don't know, I prayed, bro. I was like I don't know what happened. In 10 minutes we got 3 charges out of the door, and I was like, yes. I was like, God bless it, and we're going home. But we were so like, we tried our best, and a lot of us, but at the end of the day, we're doing it for a good reason too. Like, we want to make sure that the victim gets its due, like they are content with the decision we're making, and also the person charged is not being charged for anything wrong, that their charges make sense, and the counsels did a good job of convincing us of if some person needs to be charged or not. So that was my...
So as the foreperson, you would be talking to the judges and all that based on everything, but you said there's also a unanimous vote.
Unanimous, so that's all 12-on-12 people agreeing. And then, so what happens?
And then you take that agreement to the judge.
Yeah.
And you present it.
So that's basically, so the judge was like, it's 8:30, and your last mark to hand in the verdict is 8:30 p.m. We're leaving, because until you don't give the verdict, everybody's still in court. The judge is still in court, the counsels are still in court, the charge is still in court, and everybody's just waiting on like when the jurors are gonna, because the decision you can hand in at any time. Right, so it can be like the first day to like the 20th day, if anything. So we last minute, I don't know how, we came up with the decision. We all asked if we all agreed, and we all agreed on like if it was guilty, not guilty. And then you get a form, and you have to like sign guilty or not guilty on each charge, and then you put it in an envelope and you seal it, and you have to put it under the door, and then the constable will take it to the judge. And thing about jury duty is you're not like I said earlier, no outside influence can come in. So even if one of the jurors had to go to the washroom, you weren't allowed to discuss. If we had to go on a walk, we all had to go on a walk together. If the verdict was being said, it needed to be said in front of 12. Yeah, like because we were so tired of sitting in one room because you're confined. The constables took us on a walk outside the courthouse, but it had to be together. Or like if like somebody's like, you can't really step out alone. Or like if you're even going to a different room to eat your lunch, you're not allowed to talk about the case. So it's very strict when it comes to those terms. And as for the verdict, we took it to like the judge, and then I had to stand up, and then I had to it was so stressful. Like I never knew that type of anxiety existed.
I was gonna say like this whole process carries a lot of like, especially being the foreperson and having to like make the verdict and all that, like carries a lot of like emotional weight as well. Like how did you handle that as well?
So like I was trying to be the most positive person throughout this whole process. So like when the verdict
I just want to go home.
Yeah, when the verdict had to be said, like it was like I asked the constable, I'm like, what do I have to say? What do I have to do? And they're like, okay, you just have to stand and you just have to say it. I'm like, okay, I can do that much. So I stood, and the judge doesn't speak to you directly. He speaks to his register, and the register speaks to you. The register, my man was mumbling. He was mumbling. He was like, say you all, say you all, say you all. And I was like,
wait, what?
And thing is that all eyes are on you. All the jurors are looking at you. All the judges looking at you. The constables, the register, the counsels, the lawyers, like even the person charged is looking at you. And you have to kind of decide his life. You have to say guilty, not guilty, guilty, not guilty, like multiple times, depending on like the charge. And then the register, he was like to me, say you all. And I just repeated whatever he said. And everybody started laughing. And I was like, what is going on? And then the person next to me is like, you have to say all. I'm like, okay, all, because he was mumbling and I couldn't understand.
Right.
So they have to first validate that what you're saying is a unanimous decision. So he was like, say you all.
Oh, he was like, you had to repeat after him.
Yeah, so he was like, say and then comma you all, but he was just saying it in one go. He was like, say all, and I was like, I would blank out. I'm like, what is it? And my hands were so sweaty and I'm holding my paper. And the guy next to me, like one of my like juror mates, he's like, you have to say all. I'm like, all. And then the judge was laughing. Like, he was nice. The judge was really sweet. And then I was like, all. And then he's like, and then he would say a charge, and I would say guilty, not guilty, guilty, not guilty.
Did you have like a paper?
Like the paper that I signed. It was that paper.
What if you accidentally was
yeah, because I was like, oh. And then what I found really interesting was what I found interesting was that after you say the verdict, the defense counsel, so like the lawyer of the person charged, he gets asked that, do you want them all to say yes? So what that basically is, they go through each and every juror, and each and every juror has to say yes to the verdict, that we all made a decision. So basically, if one person like in an ideal situation, like that didn't happen, but let's say one person was in a disagreement with the decision, and I went, like, let's say you disagreed with one of the charges, and the judge asked you that, oh, do you agree? And you have to say yes, and you say no, we're back in that room and we have to do the process again. So like having to have a unanimous decision is so important, because last minute, let's say one of like the judges is like, no, I disagree.
Why would they
then
do
back
that
to square one. Back to square one.
Like, you're like, okay, like, why would they do that to themselves? But like, that's the whole reason they're
Yeah,
there too,
yeah.
to like make sure that like,
everybody
you guys makes
the right decision,
and all of that.
And like they gave us a binder filled with all the the charges and how to go each step and how to know if something is guilty or not guilty. And then they gave us, like, we had a TV in our room and like a lot of computers where we played all like the exhibits. We had our notes. They gave us like markers. They gave us all paper and like stuff to put on the board and stuff. So that was helpful. Yeah.
Like, I know your case was definitely different from what like other people might experience when they're summoned. And your case was like, I know you can't talk about it. It was like more sensitive stuff. But did did you notice any of your jurors like feel uncomfortable having to like do that case that you guys were given? And like, how, like, do you think, or like even you, or is there any way to like help with that? Or since you're summoned.
Yeah. So the thing about jury duty is you're not allowed to talk about whatever happens in that room.
Yeah.
So anything you decide, how you decide, like even the judge is not allowed to know, or the constables are not allowed to know what happened in that room. And so when it comes to like a sensitive case, I'll just tell you my experience, that like you would want, like, it's very hard. Like, sensitive cases are very hard to be, like, being in the room with like graphic photos, having the witness speak, having the victim speak, like, it's very emotional.
Do you plan on going into like any sort of, like, what type of law do you plan
on
like
criminal law or like family law too?
So I guess like
it was a good
so for
insight.
you it was like whatever the case was for you, it was like
insight.
Okay, since you're interested in criminal law, like whatever the case is.
But it's also like at times, because I'm in that field,
from what you expected.
Yeah, but also like the way the counsels delivered their cases, like even as a normal person, you would be like, okay, they need to like step up their game. So because at times it was like because the whole idea of a counsel is to convince the jurors. And if I'm not convinced, then I'm not going to defend your case. Like, I'm not going to be on your side. Yeah. And if you're not doing a good job in that, then you're just making the whole process so difficult for the jurors to come to a unanimous decision.
Yeah.
So usually it's like, even if one counsel is not good, the other counsel still has like a vote. But somewhere like there, because it's also sometimes the cases, it depends on the case again. Sometimes if it's a recent case, it's much easier to like navigate like the whole procedure. But if it's a case that's taking place 3 years after the incident, or like 4 or 5 years after the incident, then it's much harder for even the lawyers to come up with like a whole like scenario and a narrative, because there's so many gaps. So I feel like it's also a lawyer, like if I was a lawyer, I would wanted to make sure that everything was smooth for the jurors to understand the case. But sometimes it's just so confusing. There's so many discrepancies. There's just so many like different ways of taking things that it becomes difficult.
Of course. And like I know I asked a similar question, but did like being in that position really deepen your understanding of just the justice system, and compared to what you had read about it in a textbook, or no, it was practically the same?
I feel like the experience is going to always be different. Yeah. It's always going to be different, because what you read and theories and what you see, or like what's in your readings.
Definitions and all
yeah, like that I understand, and I think that helps me understand what's happening in the first place. But when you're in that situation every day, like I remember going home every day and just reflecting on what I heard and saw today. And that, as just even a normal person, is very different to take in. And then if you have a legal background, you're like attaching it to different concepts, and like you're trying to make sense of what's taking place.
And you couldn't even use like any sort of like outside sources.
No. And I'm like,
you and your thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. So even like the one day I stayed at night, I couldn't sleep all night. It was just like, I'm like, because I'm a foreperson, I need to step up my game. I need to understand how to like, I need to, because I'm like, if I want to go home tomorrow and I want this case to finish, then I need to figure out a way to actually like make everybody on the same page.
And you did
that. And that's very hard. And I did that. Somehow we did it. We got it done. But it's also the idea that coming from like a legal background, like we've learned the law is very vague, and it's it's like that, so it can fit in different situations, and it can fit in different cases. So I feel like every case is different. Every law that is applied is interpreted differently. So that's something that stood out. And another thing that stood out is that this whole experience was very human. Like cases and like the whole courthouse system is known to be like, it should be perfect and it should like help people and protect people. But when you're in that situation, you realize that even like lawyers can make mistakes, even the jurors can make mistakes, even like the people speaking can make mistakes. But the whole idea here is like to come up with a decision where we can help each other out at the end of the day. And one more thing is that you realize how sensitive cases are actually handled. Because when you're in a courthouse, because we're so serious and it's all strict, but when it comes to an emotional and a sensitive case, like the way they took care of it, I really appreciated it. Like if even if like as a juror, if I was uncomfortable, I could tell the constable that I need a break, and they would send us all for a break for like a few minutes.
Yeah, the accommodations were great.
Or like even if like the witness was having trouble saying something, they would give us a break and they would understand. If like what we're viewing or like the exhibits that were given were like a little uncomfortable, they would give us like some space. And like I remember at the end, like the last minute, they handed us out like pamphlets for like trauma stuff. Like if you you couldn't handle like whatever, because it was pretty like heavy. It was a heavy case. If you couldn't handle it, then here are certain sources that we can help you with. So that was accommodating.
That's nice. Yeah. And you said you want to become a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Like you're on the path of. Did your experience like change your viewpoint on becoming a lawyer or anything like that?
Yeah. So I feel like I really needed, like I was craving to have practical experience. I'm a law and society major, and I realized that my degree itself does not give me that large of a scope to see the legal field.
Yeah, obviously hands-on is always different.
Yeah. And I came into this field kind of expecting that, but it wasn't given. That's why I feel like joining associations and school clubs like WILA is very helpful, because I got to experience that through WILA as well. Like we go through like courthouses, we see different lawyers and stuff. So I feel like that was really helpful. And other than that, it's a huge responsibility, like to be a lawyer, or even to be a juror, and you're kind of deciding another person's life, and you're deciding if you're giving the victim its rightful due of what they came into this case with. And also I feel like it helped shape or gave me an understanding what type of lawyer I want to be, in terms of not just like what legal background or what legal fields I want to be part of, but also what type of person, how I'm gonna take each and every case. So like I feel like some lawyers, they can be very like serious, or like be very like rough when it comes to speaking to witnesses. But I also noticed some of like
they were more gentle,
more calm, more articulate with their words, more caring. So I feel like that's where you kind of see that, okay, which position do I want to be in?
Yeah,
what type
obviously the type of lawyer that you are too depends on you.
So I feel like that's really important.
Oh, that's nice. Like, that's good. So that like also opened your eyes on like that, because it's like, it's not, like you said, it's not just the legal like field that you're in that determines like how you are going to be as a lawyer, but basically also what type of approaches you want to take, and you saw like all types of approaches at play in front of you.
For sure, because there was different witnesses, and I saw the way each counsel kind of interpreted each witness, and it was different each time. So like if there was somebody related to the defense counsel, the prosecutor would take it differently. If it was somebody related to the prosecutor side, the defense counsel would take it differently. So I feel like that also helped me see the whole narrative of what like a case actually looks like, and the fact that I saw it from point A to point like Z, like that whole process, that like was complete, like fully insightful.
That's so cool. I feel like we've covered so much, which is so interesting, because for example, somebody like me, I had heard about like jury duty and being summoned, and that having to be like the obligation of every Canadian citizen, but it wasn't talked about as much or as detailed, and I'm sure it's going to be different based on case. Like, it's not like going to be necessarily like, you know,
criminal case or like a sensitive case.
Like, I'm sure it's different, but it's so nice that we got to touch upon this. Is there anything else that you feel like maybe I missed out on, or you would like to share?
I feel like the now, like the recent, like what they did for jurors was they start paying you. So if that gets you to go to jury duty, go. They pay you now.
They pay you now. Like, I've heard of that, which is not bad, but it also means like when the day that they want you to be there, like you have to drop everything, whether it's work, school, like anything you have.
So like for that, like I remember they made us sign like a form that said that if your employer doesn't pay you, we'll pay you, and if they don't pay you for the time you're here, then we'll pay you. So at the end of the day, because it is like almost equivalent to minimum wage if you do the hours on like the amount they give you.
That's
so
good.
Like,
did you have midterms?
I had like midterm assignments, not like.
Oh, that's so okay. That's good. You didn't have actual like to have to like give like, oh please, I'm not able to make it.
No, but I still got like,
I don't know where I'm gonna be.
my other judge, he was so accommodating. He wrote like us letters. He like each personalized letters. And then I had to give it to my professors.
So nice to hear that the accommodations were really good. And like in that sense, the experience was pretty good. Overall, what do you think of your experience?
It was great. Like when I think about it overall, it was amazing. But when I go into like the little details and things that were said, and it's like, it's frustrating. It's like upsetting and frustrating, because sometimes it's just so difficult, and because there's like moments in deliberation where you're just hopeless. Like you're just like, okay, like how am I supposed to convince you? What more can I say? Yeah.
But like that doesn't change your mind on becoming a lawyer.
No. I feel like it makes me want to become a better lawyer, because I see, and then I want to apply it better. And I'm like, if I want to help somebody in the future, especially I'm somebody who comes from a very strong like sense of justice, and I feel like that's what got me into this field. So I'm like very keen on making sure what I'm doing, I want to do it rightly and be 100%.
Overall, it's a good experience.
Yeah.
It's a good experience.
But then again, case to case.
Yeah. You definitely didn't expect that you were gonna be going through everything that you did when you were like,
not at all. I don't think anybody expected that in that room. What we were getting ourselves into, but it was like at the end of the day, it was for something good, and it was to make sure that justice was served, and it was served. So that was great.
Glad.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think we covered everything. Any last words, comments?
I think we're good. Yeah.
That's good. Another one of our beautiful execs from the WILA woman-in-law.
Thank you.
WILA. So great. So I guess that will wrap it up for today. Thank you for watching another episode, listening to another episode. Hope to see you guys next time. Bye.